Shalom, Yisrael. My name is Yashar Yehuda, and today I'll be doing a video with the title of Elohim, DNA, and Human Design. Again, that's Elohim, DNA, and Human Design. All right, so first what I want to do is propose a question to the listeners and the viewers here. And that question is, what is the most sophisticated program ever devised or created? The answer is DNA, which is short for deoxyribonucleic acid. And I will give you a quote from billionaire Bill Gates. Okay. Again, Bill Gates is the owner and creator of the computer program Windows. And he said that genes or DNA are the most sophisticated program around today. He made this quote in this comment in the magazine that's named Business Week on June 27th, 1994. So again, he made the comment that DNA or genes are the most sophisticated program around today. All right, so now I want to give you a definition of exactly what is DNA. All right. So according to Webster's, DNA is the nucleic acid that carries genetic information in the cell and is capable of self-replication and synthesis of RNA, consisting of two long chains of nucleotides twisted into a double helix, and determines individual heredity and characteristics. Okay, so again, we have that definition of what DNA is, and we have the quote from Bill Gates that said that DNA is the most sophisticated program ever created. All right, so this particular meme, it says, if DNA is similar to software, who is the programmer? All right, so this particular DNA is very sophisticated. All right, so we have Bill Gates making a comment and admitting that DNA is the most sophisticated program around, and that no computer program can come close to comparing with it. All right, so DNA is a type of information, and it's found stored in approximately 25,000 human molecules. And each DNA strand, if stretched out, extends to about 6 feet in length and is packed with information, which makes each individual unique and different, just as the fingerprint distinguishes each of us. Okay. All right, so in the human body, we have approximately 40 trillion cells. All right, so that leads me to one of the first scriptures that I want to get today, which would be in the book of Psalms 139, verses 13 through 16. And it reads, "For thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee, when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them." So again, that's Psalms 139, verses 13 through 16, speaking how our Creator, Elohim, said that each human is fearfully and wonderfully made, and how he knew us before we were ever in the womb of our mothers. So again, we made the point that the body is composed of 37 trillion cells, and that this particular DNA molecule is found in all of the cells of our bodies. All right, so the next scripture I want to get is Jeremiah 1 and 5. And it reads, "Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations." So again, we see how the Most High speaks of knowing us before we were formed in the belly, speaking of our creation. So again, the DNA in our cells is very similar and more intricate than a computer program, as stated again by Bill Gates. This particular DNA is made up of 4 chemicals. Let's see here. All right, so it's made up of 4 chemicals, and these chemicals are named adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, and is abbreviated with the letters A, T, G, and C. The order in which these chemicals are arranged in our cells instructs each cell's action. What is amazing is that within every cell in your body, this code and pattern is approximately 3 billion letters long. So DNA, it can't be seen with a regular microscope. So you'll need a high-powered microscope, what is known as a electron microscope. In electron microscopes, they magnify images up to 10 million times. Let's see. All right, so back in 1953, we had these 2 Edomites that supposedly discovered the structure of the DNA. And the names of these 2 are Watson and Crick. So they supposedly came up with the structure of the DNA pattern. Okay, so again, recapping, we see that within the DNA structure, we have 25,000 molecules that the DNA is present within. And the DNA structure is packed with information, as stated by Bill Gates, that said that the DNA is more complex of a program than any computer program that he's ever seen. All right, so we know that computers are programmed by a programmer. So the same thing would go for the DNA that is within all of these cells that make up our bodies. So we're talking about a divine creator whose name is Yahuwah, and he created us and put the DNA in the cells of our bodies. And just until recently, these scientists have come up with the electron microscope, which was able to see the pattern of this particular DNA. So I want to get one more scripture, and it's Romans 1:20, and it reads, "For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse." All right, so this particular verse just brings out the fact that we are able to get an understanding and see the invisible things by being able to see the things that are visible. So it's speaking of a knowledge of invisible things. These particular prophets and apostles, they knew about the invisible things that make up this universe. And they didn't have access to high-powered telescopes and microscopes, but they had inspiration coming down from on high, from the Most High. And he brought this information out to his people. Okay. So that verse brings out that particular fact of the electron microscopes being able to see magnify images up to 10 million times, being able to see the invisible things. And one of those invisible things, again, is the DNA structure, which you would need a DNA microscope to be able to see this particular structure and to see the chromosomes, the tightly packed and coiled chromosomes. So again, we have the 37 of approximately 40 trillion cells in the body. And we had Bill Gates that made the connection of how the DNA is a very complex program and information encoded within the DNA. And we have the fact that our fingerprints, that each individual has a different set of fingerprints, and they're distinguished by that, as well as the DNA markers that we all have. We all have different DNA, and it distinguishes us, and it instructs us, and instructs the cells. It produces information that makes each individual who we are, and this is found encoded in the DNA pattern. And again, we had the scripture in Psalms 139:14. This brings out the fact that each person is fearfully and wonderfully made. So that gives praise to the Most High for fearfully and wonderfully making these bodies that He's given us. And we had Jeremiah 1:5 that brings out the fact that before He formed us in the belly, that He knew us. And also, again, bringing out the fact of the two Edomites that supposedly discovered the DNA structure back in 1953. And I already brought out Romans 1:20 again about being able to see and understand the invisible things of the creation. And on the electron microscope again, which brings out the 10,000 times magnification power of this particular telescope that can see the DNA pattern. All right, for new listeners, you can check me out on Facebook, The Facebook group is Yashar Ministries. Make straight the way of Yahuwah. And on this group, I have many files. I have many posts that I post daily and weekly for the edification of the Israelites, bringing out this information. And you'll find that I'm not the conventional type of a teacher. I feel that I go a lot deeper than in different directions than a lot of people normally would go. So just want to end it with peace. Shalom to each Israelite out there, and continue to study this scriptures and study this truth and get this information and spread it out. Peace.